Like, do you really care? Do you really care? And I think it's an important statement for us to think about, obviously, quite often as a coach. A few years back, you guys, I was actually, I was working with a college, actually Power 5 football staff. And I was taking them through a lot of the leadership and culture stuff that I typically take staffs through. And we're about 2/3 of the way through. And one of the guys raises his hand. He said, you know what? He goes, this stuff is fine, Todd, but you need to understand that there's a lot of these kids that just don't want to be motivated that way. In fact, they won't be motivated that way. You don't call them out on this and that. They won't move. They won't do what you want them to do. They want to be motivated that way. To be honest with you guys, I think the hair on the back of my neck probably started to raise a little bit. And I kind of listened to him explain how, just the fact is we still have to motivate some of these kids like this. And I said, you know what? I said, I happened to look at the tenets of your team, because this team happened to have some like a foundational pillars or whatever, like a lot of teams do. I said, one of them had to do with the future. Now, I didn't even have to go to faith on this one, you guys. This one had to do with future. And I said, so you say you care about their future. So this kid that isn't motivated unless you come in and you're demeaning and you call him an MF this and this and this. I said, this kid, you're going to keep doing that because that's the way you found that motivates him. I said, if he's working with peers on a team, on a project, and he wants to motivate one of his peers, and he goes, look, and goes off on him like that, I said, probably not going to be very acceptable, is it? I said, how about if this person gets married and has a spouse, and 5, 6, 7 years down the line, look, and he tries to motivate his spouse that way. Well, God forbid, in 5 or 6 or 7, 10 years from now, he has a 5, 6, 7-year-old child. And he says, this is how you motivate him. Bottom line is, you have to ask yourself, because a lot of times as coaches, we say our job is to figure out what motivates these kids. Well, unfortunately, you guys, a lot of times as a result of coaches, as a result of certain types of parenting, certain things, no matter what it is, all kinds of things, sometimes what motivates them isn't the best thing for them right now. And we go back to that question, do you really care? Are you willing to go deeper? I got a number of questions I want to challenge you with today, you guys, in this quick time that we have together. The first one has to do with kind of what I was just talking about. Are you in it for motivation or transformation? Now, again, there's a lot of variations of this, the transaction versus relationship, or transaction versus transformation. All these things are kind of related. Guys, I was speaking years ago. I was in LA, and I was getting my rental car, and I remember the rental car person was like, hey, what do you do for a living? And I never really know what to tell them, because I still am trying to figure that out, what the title is. And I go, well, I kind of teach leadership, and I try to help people. And I was trying to fumble it through, and he goes, oh, you're a motivational speaker. And I was like, nah. I said, that's not really what I want to be. I said, there's nothing wrong with motivation. Motivation is for a moment. Motivation is very much external versus intrinsic. I said, the bottom line is my desire is to be transformational. I want to hopefully in some way, shape, or form impact you in a way that impacts you for the rest of your life. I want to impact your heart. I want to go deeper. I think as coaches, going back to what that question really was, is are we really in it just to motivate them, figure out what moves them from point A to point B? Because that's not that hard, by the way. Or are we really about changing something deeper? And it comes back to, do we really care? The other question I love to ask coaches is this question of the best versus your best. This is one, the best versus, and you guys mind, these are not bad versus good, because we need motivation as a coach, but transformation is what should be our primary pursuit. The best is okay. But the best is subjective. And oh, by the way, the best is always in comparison to somebody or something else. And oh, by the way, the best, we really, technically, if you really think back to all the times that you've been classified the best, or somebody else in your field of competition has been, we don't control very much of that equation as much as we sometimes think. Because I've seen referees decide games. I've seen the environment decide games. I've seen all kinds of things decide games. And people walk away and go, well, they were the best. The best is subjective. The best is comparison. Is about maximizing the gifts and talents that you've been given. Jesus was pretty serious about that in the parable of talents. I'll give you the quick version. When he went away, came back, one he gave 5, one he gave 2, one he gave 1. The one that took 5 turned it into 10. He said, well done, good and faithful servant. The one that he gave 2, and they turned it into 4, he said the exact same thing. He wasn't comparing the numbers. It was well done, good and faithful servant. He's gonna look at you, and your call is to be your best with what you've been given. Power, status, influence, impact. This is the base, what I call baseline of leadership, you guys. And this is about really understanding, how am I going to view leadership, teach leadership, and function within the context of leadership? Because there's a frame of thought that right away goes to hierarchy, which is more about power, status, climbing the ladder. And it's dangerous for a couple different reasons, you guys, and I'm only going to hit 2 today. The first one is, it's dangerous because it kind of can breed a when I get to attitude. In other words, if I come in as a freshman, I'm not a leader yet, because it's about hierarchy. It's about power, status, and climbing ladder. If I'm not starting, or if I'm injured, if I'm if I'm a first year assistant coach, if I'm a dobo, if I'm video, whatever it may be, it plays into this, and we can underestimate the influence we actually have versus the other side of the coin of this leadership thing, which is it's all about influence. It's all about influence. The biggest difference between those two, you guys, if you really think about the way you look at leadership, do I look at it as hierarchy, status, climbing my ladder, or do I look at it as how I'm going to impact people? If I look at it as how I'm going to impact people, it's about others. If I look at it as hierarchy, status, it's about me and my client. Big difference. Skill set, mindset, heart set. We tend to spend most of our time on the first 2. It's a part of sports. It doesn't matter what sport you're in. You got to focus on it. You got to spend time on it. But guys, the heart set is where the vast majority of the issues that you'll deal with on your team will come from. When you think about the dynamic, because we all know the dynamic of our team determines so much of our success or failure as a team. It determines so much of our impact. What is the dynamic of our team? And when you look at a player showing up late, or player rolling eyes, somebody talking bad about each other, somebody not putting forth full effort, somebody not caring really about the others on the team, all of these things, somebody losing their self-control. You guys, all of these things, they're not skill set or mindset issues. Now, they're related maybe up here a little bit. I always say heart set, mindset, or sprockets on a bike. They work together. But you got to deal with the heart set, and that takes time. Do you care? Because that takes a lot of time. Blaming or owning, this is a responsibility continuum I teach. And you guys, again, I won't spend a lot of time on it. But I'll just say that the world we're in the last couple decades especially, we have continued to teach young people the way you deal with an issue is you find the person to blame. And maybe if I'm doing bad in school, it's not me, it's got to be the teacher. If something's going wrong in sports, it can't be me, it's got to be the coach. And although there are times when there's contribution to problems that go around, you guys, we have got to start owning how we contribute to the problems that are going on around us. What can you own when the issues that are going on around you? What can you own, and how can you teach those that you're impacting to find their contribution to the problems too? The last one is passions or purpose. Guys, I love this. This is the shirt. What this shirt means, though, is purpose over passion, by the way. I think we get these two terms mixed up or confused a lot. And the reality is passion is a strong affinity or love for something. Purpose is a reason for being. Purpose is the why. I always say there's 2 parts: why you do what you do and why you're here on this earth. Passions are great, but when we confuse the two and we go after our passions at the expense of our purpose, somebody always pays. And I want to show you guys a really quick illustration. We've misplaced kind of our priorities in this pursuit of our purpose. And so I look at it as a kind of a triangle, and you have your gifts, your passions, and your opportunities kind of on this top part. And this is what we don't understand. These are things that are going to change over the course of our life, but I would call these things secondary aspects of our purpose. They're more about the what's and the how's. Down here is this foundational aspect, and it has to do with relationships. Do you care? And oh, by the way, this is where the most important relationship resides, which is our relationship with Christ, loving God and loving others. Jesus made it really clear. That's where it starts, you guys. What happens when we're young is we have our gifts, passions, and opportunities, and we're going as fast as we can. And we try to take this part of the triangle and we put it here. And we try to make it the primary. We see, because you see, this is primary. This is the foundation. Relationships are the foundation of why you're here on this earth. This is secondary. But when we put it there, you guys, and we run hard after this, what happens is eventually this crumbles in some way, shape, or form. The why you do what you do must align with why you're here. It's all about relationships. That's the why, and you got to keep it in the proper order. So I ask you in closing, do you really care? And what I'm asking really in this question is, do you really care more about what you can get out of them or what they get out of you? You guys, the bottom line is the answer is love. The answer is forgiveness. The answer is genuinely meeting each other where we are, genuinely being there and loving each other. And as a coach, if you don't genuinely love those kids, you're going to continue to have more and more challenges. By the way, when you love them, you're still going to have challenges. I get that. But you got to decide now more than ever, these kids need to know that the coaches that are impacting their lives do care about them with a genuine love. That's it. That's my thoughts, you guys, for the day.